I'm sorry, but every time a contractor like you tells me they are too busy to work on their business, I have to stop myself from saying what I'm actually thinking. Being busy isn't the problem, because in fact, it's a darn good problem to have. The real problem is that everything in your business still lives inside of one person's head. More likely yours as a CEO and owner, and I'm sure you can relate to the exhaustion, feeling overwhelmed, and constantly wondering why working harder keeps feeling like running on a treadmill instead of a racetrack where there's an actual finish line. I've sat with contractors like you who are genuinely talented, good at the craft, have the best crew and clients who love them, but they're still drowning because there's no structure underneath any of it. So today I want to walk you through the 5 systems that actually change this, and I'm not talking about downloading an app and calling it a day. I mean real practical things that will change how your business runs day to day. Stay with me. Let me describe a Wednesday morning that I hear about constantly. Sub didn't show up, clients blowing up your phone wanting a timeline update. You are missing materials on a job that's already behind. You haven't invoiced the last 2 completed jobs. There are estimates sitting in your inbox from last week. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know the books are a mess, but that's a problem for future you. Sound just like your Wednesday too, right? It isn't a busy problem, it's a systems problem. Here's what I've seen working with contractors. The ones that are stuck in these cycles, they're just running a $500K to $1 million operation the same exact way they ran it when they were a one-man show doing everything themselves. That worked then, but it genuinely doesn't work now. When there are no systems, all roads lead back to you. Every decision, every update, every problem that comes up, it all circles back to you. You become the bottleneck of your own company. You can't grow something you can never step away from. I want you to actually do a quick mental exercise right now. Think about your business across these core areas: marketing, sales, estimating, project management, field management, office management, and bookkeeping. For each one, ask yourself honestly, is it a disaster with no system at all? Is it something you're personally holding together yourself? Is it just kind of floating with no real process and no one truly owning it? Or is it actually running with a written system and a solid person in that role? Most contractors I work with have 1 or 2 areas that are humming along and 3 or 4 that are completely on fire. And the hot spots are usually the same ones: project management, field management, and financials. That's where we're going today. So here are 5 systems that will actually fix this. So the first system is internal operations, and most people skip this one because it feels like admin work, but it's the foundation that everything else sits on. If your crew is texting you every morning to find out what they're doing that day, if project timelines live in your whiteboard in your office, if the answer to where can I find this info is in your head, you don't have a system, you have a memory, and memories are not scalable. What you actually need is one centralized place where everything lives. Every task, every project, every deadline, every expectation. Your team should be able to wake up, open that system, and know exactly what they're walking into that day without having to call you. I'm not there to tell you which tool to use, but I will say this. Get off the sticky notes, get off the group chats with 100 unread messages, pick one platform, whether that's JobTread, Buildertrend, or something else that actually fits how you work, and commit to it for real. Most people miss this important detail. The tool is not the system. The process behind the tool is the system. And what does a real process actually look like? Every role in your business needs 3 things. First, a clear written overview. What does this person do? What are they responsible for? What does winning in this role actually look like? Second, a weekly scorecard with real KPIs so you can keep your thumb on the pulse without being in the middle of everything. And the third one is a simple quiz or a checklist for onboarding so that when you bring someone new in, they understand your expectations from day one. And when someone starts slipping, you have something to point back to. What does a project handoff look like in your company? What happens when a sub doesn't show up? What does a client update process look like from start to finish? If the answer to any of those is, well, I just handle it, that's exactly the problem. Write it down, even if it's just a Google Doc to start. Because here's the thing, every process you build is one thing you never have to personally manage again. That's not just a productivity tip. That's how you actually buy back your time. System 2, the hire nobody talks about. Okay, this one I really want you to listen to. When most contractors think about hiring, they think foreman, project manager, estimator. And yes, all of those matter at the right time. But the hire that will change your day-to-day life faster than almost anything else is an executive assistant. I already know what you're thinking. You are not some corporate CEO who needs someone to manage your calendar. Bear with me. Add up the time you spend every week scheduling calls, answering emails, following up on unpaid invoices, chasing down documents, coordinating between your office and your field. Be honest with yourself about that number. I promise it's higher than you think. And every one of those hours is an hour you're not spending on estimating, building client relationships, actually thinking about where this company is going. A part-time executive assistant, even a virtual one, takes all of that off your plate. They manage your calendar, they filter your inbox, they follow up on outstanding invoices, they make sure things don't fall through the cracks while you are on the job site. That's a massive amount of mental load off of you. And this is actually the foundation of Dan Martell's hiring ladder. The idea is that you don't hire randomly based on whoever seems urgent in the moment. You hire in a specific order that progressively buys back your time and moves you further away from the day-to-day. It starts with the admin, then as the business grows, you add the people who run specific functions. A bookkeeper who owns the financials, a foreman or project manager who owns the field, an estimator who owns the pipeline, a sales or operations lead who owns their department. Each hire should be replacing you in a specific area so you can move up and focus on higher value work. And the sequence matters. Hiring a COO before you have department leads underneath them doesn't work. Hiring a project manager before the financial systems are in place creates a different kind of chaos. The end game, and I want you to actually think about this as a real goal, is eventually having a COO or operations manager who oversees all of those departments, reviews the weekly numbers, and surfaces what actually needs attention. So your job as a CEO becomes meeting with your leadership team once a week and making the decisions that genuinely require you and nobody else. But you get there one hire at a time, in the right order, with the right foundation underneath each one, and none of it works without a system one places first. Clear processes, clear communication, clear expectations. You can't hand something off that doesn't have a process behind it. Once that foundation exists, the hiring ladder starts to make sense, and each new person actually makes the business better instead of just adding more moving parts. System number 3, team communication. Good communication inside a construction business doesn't just happen on its own. It has to be designed intentionally. What I see constantly is contractors with genuinely good people on their teams, hardworking, reliable, show up every day, but nobody actually knows who's supposed to talk to who. The client calls the foreman calls the owner calls the sub, and everyone is waiting on everyone else while the job just sits there. 3 questions need to be answered clearly for your team. Who talks to who? Your crew talks to your foreman talks to your project manager talks to the client. You should not be the first call every time something goes sideways on the job site. Where does communication happen? Well, pick one platform, one channel per project, and actually stick to it. If you're running 5 different apps and 3 separate group chats, things will get missed every single time. When does communication happen? Set a rhythm. A quick morning check-in, a weekly team meeting, a client update every Friday. When people know when they're going to hear from you, they stop texting you at 9 p.m. asking for updates. And this applies in the field too. Your superintendent should have a daily checklist they work through every single day, confirming deliveries for the next morning, checking that subs are lined up, making sure the site is clean and ready. That's not micromanaging, that's accountability built into the process so you don't have to chase it. When this is working the way it should, your team starts solving problems without pulling you in. You're not being totally hands-off, but this is what a real business actually looks like. I still remember the first time a client issue got fully resolved and I wasn't even looped in until after it was handled. That was the moment I knew something had genuinely changed and that my own systems were working. System 4, lead flow. Okay, now this is a little more exciting. Let's talk about where new work comes from. Because if you don't have a consistent, predictable way that leads come in, everything else we've talked about doesn't really hold up when it matters most. Most contractors are running almost entirely on referrals. And referrals are great, but they're not a strategy. They're unpredictable, and unpredictable isn't something you can build a forecast around. Think of your marketing like a wheel. Your website is a hub, it's the center of everything. Every other thing you do, your Google business profile, your social media, your networking, your reviews, your email follow-ups, those are the spokes. And the whole wheel rolls on the road. Relationships with past clients, with architects, with property managers, with anyone who can send you the right kind of work. So start there, get your Google business profile updated with real photos of your work and actual client reviews. Make sure your website clearly explains what you do and who you work with. This is your digital storefront, and most contractors have completely neglected it. Next, qualify leads before you spend serious time on them. Not every lead is worth pursuing. A simple intake form on your website asking about budget, timeline, and scope filters out the tire kickers before you even get on the call. If they're not a fit, send a polite decline and move on. That's not being picky, that's protecting your time. Then have a follow-up process. Most contractors send one email, hear nothing back, and move on. But most people need multiple touch points before they make a decision on something as significant as a construction project. 3 to 5 follow-ups over a couple of weeks. It doesn't need to be complicated, it just needs to actually happen consistently. When lead flow is working, you stop taking every job just because you need the revenue. You get to choose better margins, better clients, better fit for how your business operates, and that changes everything about how the work feels. System number 5, financials. You knew this was coming. Most contractors I start working with don't actually know if they're profitable. They think they are because there's money in the bank, but money in the bank and actual profit aren't the same thing. I had a client, very good guy, always booked, great reputation in the area. We went back and tracked his real costs on 5 recent projects. 3 of them he had lost money on. He was literally paying out of pocket to do the work for people and had no idea what was happening. That's actually really common. A real financial system means knowing your numbers every single week. That means tracking what you actually spend on materials versus what you estimated, tracking the real labor hours on the job versus what you budgeted for, knowing what's actually left after everything is paid out, and making sure your chart of accounts and cost codes are set up correctly from the start. Because if the foundation is wrong, every report you pull is going to be wrong too. It also means understanding your overhead as a real tangible number. What does it cost you every month just to keep the business running before a single job is completed? That number has to be built into every estimate you write. If it's not, you're underpricing and you won't find out until the job is done and the damage is already done. And cash flow, this catches people off guard the most. You can be profitable on paper and still not make payroll. Profit and cash flow are not the same number, and they don't move at the same time. This is exactly why we built Beyond Book Solutions, specifically around construction. General bookkeepers understand accounting, They don't understand job costing, draws, retainage, and how a construction project actually flows financially. You need someone who understands both sides of that. When the books are clean, the job costing is real, and you can see your cash flow clearly, then everything changes. You bid with actual confidence. And you stop lowballing just to win work. You make decisions from the actual data instead of just gut feelings at 11 p.m. when you're too tired to think straight. You're not too busy. The business just doesn't have the structure it needs yet. And that's fixable. Operations, get everything out of your head and into one system your whole team can use with real process behind every role. Executive assistant, make that hire sooner than you think you need to and keeps you all in your end game. Team communication, design how information moves so you stop being the only person holding it all together. Lead flow, build something consistent so you're not dependent on hope for new work. And of course, financials, know your numbers every week, not just when something goes wrong. None of these are complicated in concept. The hard part is actually stopping long enough to build them when you're already running at full speed. If that's useful, share it with another contractor who needs to hear it. There are a lot of genuinely talented people out there working way harder than they need to because nobody showed them the stuff. See you in the next one.